If you're watching this video, then my plan worked and I found a way around YouTube's blocking system. The Beatles catalog is the most well-guarded catalog in music in terms of making reaction and analysis videos. You cannot use any of their stuff. And I've been trying for ages and I've been thinking up ways to do it. And if you're watching it, it worked. Fingers crossed, everything went well. Otherwise, the people who are watching this video are the review team who block my videos. And if you're watching this, hey man, unblock the video. Please. I've been wanting to do the Beatles catalog for ages because of the impact on music. I'm learning about this through the channel and the comments on the channel on how many different bands and eras of music past the late 60s and 70s, early 70s, where they broke up, that they influenced. And I think I have a unique perspective on the music because I don't come from a generation who grew up with the Beatles music, really. I think people my age who grew up with the music have had it passed down through their grandfathers and grandmothers to their parents to them. And I don't have that. And I'm also coming from a different genre too. So I think I'm coming at this catalog with fresh ears. So this should be interesting. So I guess the best place to start is with the very first album, Please Please Me, which broke records at the time. It started off, of course, a successful run of albums, but this album was consecutively at #1 for 30 weeks in a row, which was breaking records. It was apparently just a live recording of the stuff that they were working on as part of their live show and was all captured in one day in one studio session. Now, it has been described as the most productive 585 minutes in the history of recorded music. A pretty cool quote there. So they captured all of this in just one day, starting with I Saw Her Standing There. Now, this is, of course, the first track on their album run that features the very famous writing duo Monica Lennon-McCartney. Now, they've gone on to write a bunch of songs together, but this one was actually written on the way back from a Beatles gig that they were doing back in Liverpool. It is considered one of the greatest tracks of all time by Rolling Stones magazine, and according to McCartney, he actually pinched the bass line riff from a Chuck Berry track. I don't think this is the first time I've seen something like this. Chuck Berry seems to be a hugely influential artist in terms of music post 60s, 70s, blues, whatever you want to call it. Here we go. Let's check this one out. Here we go. This is I Saw Her Standing There by the Beatles.
1, 2, 3, 4. Well, she was just 17. You know what I mean. And the way she looked was way beyond compare. So how could I dance with another? Oh, and I saw her standing there.
It's really cool that I have covered some of McCartney's interviews now because he actually references this line in one of his interviews, and I felt like it was a super funny thing that he was talking about. He's always witty. He says how people read too much into their lyrics, which you can't really help but do because they're so great. But he's saying when I said she was just 17, he just meant she was 17, and people read into this in really weird ways, like she's some kind of nymphomaniac or whatever he was saying in the interview. But nevertheless, in terms of the music, it's kind of what I expected. It's of pre-65 style of music. It's repetitive in a sense. It's simple lyrically too. It's about love, young love. But pretty cool to hear them so early on in their careers. Hold up, let's take this back a little bit. Here we go.
And I saw her standing there. Well, she looked at me, and I could see that before too long I'd fall in love with her.
He's got a great voice.
She wouldn't dance with another. Whoa, and I saw her standing there. Well, my heart went boom when I crossed that room, and I held her hand in mine.
One thing that also strikes out at me is the fact that although this is the very first track on their very first album, there is a sense that this band has a great chemistry to them, and that's obviously because of the fact they spent so many hours and months and even years in, I think it was Berlin, performing live and becoming a tight band before they got to record anything like this. And you can hear that. They're super tight. It sounds like a live performance for sure.
Through the night, and we held each other tight. And before too long, I fell in love with her. Now I'll never
Ringo.
dance with another. Oh, when I saw her standing there.
I guess that's the bass line underneath it from the Chuck Berry song.
Well, my heart went boom when I crossed that room, and I held her hand in my oh, we danced through the night, and we held each other tight, and before too long, I fell in love with her. Now I'll never dance with another. Oh, since I saw her standing there. Oh, since I saw her standing there. Yeah, well, since I saw her standing there.
Okay. Very first track off the Beatles. Historic stuff right there. I was trying to see, going into this track, can you hear the genius? Can you tell in any way that this band would go on to revolutionize music in so many different ways? And I don't know whether it's hindsight, but there seems to be something there. There's something there that these guys are writing these tracks. They're performing them with ease, with great chemistry. There's a wit, there's an energy to the music. I don't know if you could have told or could tell at the time these guys were going to go on to do what they do, but there's something there. They've got this, I don't know, I guess it's called an it factor or whatever it's called, but it's certainly there. Cool track, cool intro. I'll do a little bit more of a review of the first two records after the next one. So let's get into the next track. It's called Misery. Misery was actually written for another artist. Her name was Helen Shapiro, and it was the Beatles, I should say Lennon and McCartney's first stab at a ballad. This is what McCartney was saying. It was actually written on the Liverpool Institute exercise book, which is the school system that exists in Merseyside, Liverpool. And apparently there's a famous picture of Lennon and McCartney writing this track together while strumming on the acoustic guitar, which is kind of how they always worked. They worked side by side in tandem with each other. And it was a job to them. They were just trying to write a track. They felt as if at parts of it, you could have called us hacks, hacking out a song for someone. Now, eventually, she declined to use the track, and they ended up recording the material for their own album, Please Please Me. Here we go. This is Misery. Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles with Misery.
The world is treating me bad. Misery. I'm the kind of guy who never used to cry. The world is treating me bad. Misery.
Great
I
harmony.
lost her now for sure. I won't see her no more.
Their voices pair so
It's
naturally.
gonna be a drag. Misery. I'll remember all the little things we've done. Can't she see she'll always be the only one, only one?
Their voices pair up so effortlessly, and obviously that's because they've had lots of practice. They've been writing songs together for years now, being school friends and being in a band for so long, in terms of like I was saying earlier, touring in Germany and stuff. But yeah, it's effortless. Some things are meant to be together, where like Paul can do those higher notes really well in the background. It really complements together.
Send her back to me, 'cause everyone can see without her I will be in misery.
always tell whose voice it is, but I've heard Lennon doesn't like his own voice. He doesn't like hearing it, and I don't know why. He's got a great voice. Okay, so what have I learned from the first 2 tracks of listening to the Beatles, very first debut album, first 2 tracks, is I was kind of feeling like this might happen going into this, but this is a track released in '63, right? And I have had many years of compounding knowledge and of music changing and evolving, and I was born in '95, came into music in a whole new world where people took what these guys did and moved it, and new genres came through. And so this stuff, it doesn't feel revolutionary to me. They're just tracks to me, right? And so I can't quite vibe with these early records of the Beatles. I've heard some of the later stuff, and those ones I can tell immediately the genius. I heard, for example, A Day in the Life. Now that's obviously one of the tracks that pushed the art form forward, actually. So these guys are part of the reason why it advanced. But I can't tell so much with the early ones. I can't vibe so much with this stuff. This is stuff that's made for its day and its time. This was a pop group. They made the pop music of their time. And so a lot of the time I'm listening to the music, and it's a cool track, especially in the sense of the history of it, of these 2 guys writing these songs and changing the world, in a sense. But do I love the songs? No, if I'm being honest. They're just simple tracks. People were telling me some of the reasons why these tracks needed to be simple at the time. They needed to fit a certain format, and there was heavy censorship and stuff like that was going on. Something about XM radio not being able to play longer songs. So these all are really short songs too. But anyway, that's my take super early on, is that cool songs for what they are, but you know, are these going to be added to a playlist where I'm going to be bopping them in a car when I'm out with my friends? Probably not. Other than that, I'll catch you guys on the next Beatles reaction.